right, so we'll get started this evening. So if everyone would join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. All right, thank you. So before we get started, I would like to thank our Board of Education members who are here representing and setting a good example, not only as parents, but as Board of Education members. So Mrs. Karen Hook, I would like to thank her, as well as Mrs. Barbara Kelly, and as well as Mr. Peter Reset. So thank you for being here tonight. So thank you for coming in tonight. My goal tonight is really to give you a little background of why we're entering into this one-on-one Chromebook initiative, not just at its surface, but a little deeper. And I won't keep you here for and too long of a time talking about that, but I want to give you a little actual background. So this past year, we actually we just were able to go through the process of confirming a new mission statement and vision statement. And there's really some key words in here that I'm going to end up emphasizing throughout. So lifelong learners being one of them, as well as empowered. So the purpose and the why. So why would we want to go through this process of giving all students this piece of equipment that's rather expensive? So, as I said to you, I want to emphasize what's in our mission statement. And one of the things in our mission statement is to graduate lifelong learners who have been empowered. So lifelong learning, we use that term often, but what it really means is that you're always going to be improving upon yourself. The job skills you have, your personal skills, everything that you do, you improve upon and you strive to get better at. And the fact ends up becoming that many of the jobs that are existing today will not exist 10 years from now or 20 years from now, and many jobs that your children and grandchildren may have not been created yet. So I'll get a little bit more into that as we go here. So we want to ensure that all of our students have equal access and all of our teachers have equal access, because in the past it was very segmented by what class you may have been in or with what teacher you took a class with. So previous to now, we had used iPads. Some of those classes had iPads with the typewriter function attached to it. However, not all of the classes had that as well. We know that we want to prepare students at graduation to be lifelong learners. We also want to prepare them to be college and or career ready. So, again, what does that mean? College and career ready, what are the possibilities? So, for decades, there's been a way of describing types of jobs. Blue-collar job, white-collar job. Blue-collar job predominantly meant it may have been labor-related, it may or may not have required some amount of college. White-collar meant that you, in many cases, worked in an office, there were technical skills required, and some amount of college or quite a bit of college. But as we are developing and as we move forward, there's a new type of area being created, and that's a new collar, where there's a combining of what used to be blue collar and used to be white collar into a new collar type job, where you need not only technical skills for a labor-related job, but you also may need a certain amount of college. And then for what was a white collar job, you may need a mixture of some of the blue collar skills. So I have a couple examples here for you. If you bear with me, we'll start off with the SAM.
In Congress today, a House subcommittee approved draft legislation that would allow manufacturers to put up to 100,000 driverless vehicles per year on the road. It's a step towards robots replacing us behind the wheel and phasing out taxi and truck drivers. That's a ways off, but there's one robot named Sam.
This is Sam. It's a robot put together with off-the-shelf parts by a company called Construction Robotics. It looks more like a chest freezer than C-3PO, but it can lay more than 3,000 bricks a day once it gets going. The best human masons can do about 1,000. And Sam never makes mistakes or gets tired. The company has 6 of them, building walls across America.
The efficiency on construction sites has been very stagnant or declined in the last 20, 30 years, whereas manufacturing efficiency has increased significantly. And a lot of that is due to robotics and technologies. We looked at a lot of different applications and tried to hone in on areas where you had repetitive motion, a lot of physical activity.
What are the pieces that make it up, and how do they work together to help it lay a wall?
We have some sensing technology that looks at the laser that's mounted to the wall in the storage pole system, corrects for the movement on the scaffold, puts the brick right where it's supposed to go. We have a mortar system that tempers the mortar, measures the mortar, and applies the mortar to the brick. We have a bunch of electronics, a bunch of sensors, and then onboard power. That's all there is to it.
The day I was there, Sam laid a record 3,267 bricks in 8 hours. Though the robot still requires at least 2 human beings to do finishing work and feed it bricks and mortar as it moves along the scaffold. Overall, the robot has laid 50,000 bricks on the site since June 1st. So if we're looking at a construction site in 15, 20 years, how does it look different to this?
There'll probably be maybe a little bit less workers, but really it's about smarter and more efficient equipment.
Does that give you any pause when you develop a robot?
We look at job site robots in particular as really a way to augment the worker.
But I mean, with respect, every industry that starts to automate has that same line. They say it's going to augment the worker. And of course, for a little while, it does augment the worker.
Sure.
But in 5 years' time, if you have your way, if your robot gets so much.
So that's one example of how a very good paying blue-collar profession is now changed and it's morphing to where, as a bricklayer, you need to know and understand how to program a robot such as that. You also need to understand the mathematics associated with it, and any of the other finer details like fixing it when it may malfunction or break, as well as what the other workers around you are supposed to be doing. So that's one end of the spectrum, and Ms. Shea will show us the other end of the spectrum.
What is 45,689 divided by 67?
Sure.
He silently asks a computer, and then hears the answer through vibrations transmitted through his skull and into his inner ear.
6, 8, 1.9, 2, 5.
Exactly right. One more. What's the largest city in Bulgaria, and what is the population? The screen shows how long it takes the computer to read the words that he's saying to himself.
Sofia, 1.1 million.
That is correct. You just Googled that.
I did.
You could be an expert in any subject. And the entire internet in your head.
That's the idea.
So that's the other end of the spectrum there. So I have one more video to show you to kind of sum up what the point I want to make before I get into the nuts and bolts of what we do with this here at Liberty High School, and then the details of what the distribution means to students. So those are a couple examples. I'll give you another one as well. So I had LASIK eye surgery yesterday, completely bladeless, and I used 2 different lasers. I saw no less than 6 technicians and the doctor in the whole process. Now those technicians have to be able to assist the doctor in what the laser is doing to my eye, but they also ran me through a battery of tests using at least 7 different machines, some taking pictures of the eye, some looking through the eye, some mathematically tracing the eye. So the idea behind all this is that we're trying to prepare our students to go out into a world where the profession that they may begin after college or right from high school may not exist by the time they end their career, or what career they end on may not have been created at the beginning of their career. You know, and we could go on and on talking about these things that are already integrated into our life, whether we want them to be or not. If you wear an Apple iWatch, there's an EKG monitor on it. So if you were to have an issue, it would alert you because it's constantly monitoring your body and your heart rate and the rhythms that it's programmed to. So within Liberty High School and within Liberty Central School District, we are involved in the Sanwa Model of technology. So at the lowest area is substitution, and then it's augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So the best word that I can use to describe what redefinition is creating something. The creation of something that couldn't have been created previously. So this is another example. So you recognize some of the little GIFs there that we see often and describe what it is. So a great example of the lowest level on the Sanwa model of substitution would be a handwritten paper. Well, in all likelihood, I mean, most of the time it's not handwritten anymore, but handwritten paper, we progressed to the typewriter and then the computer. Now we use Google Docs, but a level above that would be to share the document. Also within this level, and potentially the modification level would be translating that document just by clicking a few buttons within Google Docs. You could translate it into a few hundred different languages. So, you know, as we go along here, it's moving upward is the higher level of technology. And again, once you're at that redefinition, the bottom line is you're creating something that was not previously created, or it allows you to create something that wasn't allowable to create previously. All right, so here's the nuts and bolts of it. So you now know why we want to promote Chromebooks. It gives us a reason and the ability to prepare students for what they're going to face at college and or career. A lot of those challenges, as we talked about, may change, but the Chromebook presents, when compared with the iPads we had, the ability to type, which we know will be required by many colleges to be able to complete papers, research, and other things. But it's also a device that has many other capabilities, and it's all kept in the cloud, so to speak. So it's a very unique device in that it's rugged, but it's also a device that's malleable to our needs. So the document here that's underlined, that's what you were reading through and signing out in the hallway. So it's really the last 3 pages. Let's see, the last page is actually the insurance page. The 2 previous to that are the pages to sign. So our goal is for students to have the same Chromebook for the entirety of their high school career. so that there's an ingrained, like how you treat it is how it's going to look and how it operates. Of course, we want all of them treated well, but our goal is to leave it with the same student throughout their high school career. So as of now, our plan is on September 16th and 17th during physical education classes, because we run an A-B schedule, we'll have a setup within the physical education class, sort of like an assembly line, checking for the paperwork that should have already been submitted, and giving them a power cord and a Chromebook and any other directions. So at the end of the school year, likely to be the last full week of school, we will collect the Chromebooks so that we have a little bit of time to get anyone who maybe wasn't here for that collection and make sure we have everything. So with privacy and digital awareness. So within that handbook that everyone now has, and is either signed already or will be signing, it kind of outlines all of the responsibilities, but it really comes down to a few specific things that we'll be talking about. So there's no expectation of privacy. So the Chromebooks do get tracked. There is a mechanism that we do that, a program that we can do that on, which teachers can do it within class. It can also be done outside of class, like when it's at home. There's a little less opportunity to be able to modify the device if it's not on campus, but it's still a mechanism that we have to have in order to make sure that the devices are, one, working properly, but two, being used appropriately. All right, so the responsibilities. As I said, that whole handbook really comes down to a few select responsibilities. So we want students to bring the Chromebook every day to school charged fully. We have a few backup plans in place for when maybe that doesn't work correctly. So one of those is that each classroom will have an extra charger or two to be able to plug in while they're in class. So we also want each student to bring the Chromebook home with them. It should be secured at all times. So it's either in the locker or with them in class on their person, or bringing it home with them each night. So the other backup plan that we have is that we have a help desk that I'll get into a little bit in the next slide. But the help desk will be able to provide the student with the loaner Chromebook. And if it's the issue of, like, I forgot my Chromebook today, well, then we'll give you a loaner Chromebook for that day. You will return it at the end of the day back to the library. So again, loaner Chromebooks. So they're issued out of the high school library at the help desk. If you as a student are interested in being a part of what the help desk will be doing, which is issuing Chromebooks, might be some other things that will be involved at the help desk. But if you're interested in that, interested in technology, interested in that as a future or maybe just a hobby, let us know. We're looking for students who want to volunteer to be a part of the help desk and developing what that will become over time. So this, of course, is an obvious one, but you never want to have anyone else use your Chromebook. They use your Chromebook, even for 5 minutes, they decide to go on a site that's not allowable. And then we get the flag, right? So you go on a site that's not allowable, and then we get notified that someone went on a site that wasn't allowable, and then the information of who that Chromebook is assigned to gets sent to us, right? So you don't want to be in a situation as a student where you loan someone your Chromebook and then they're not as responsible for it as they should be or as you would be. So, as I said before, the Chromebook is expected to be a multiple year device. So if you're a freshman, you want to take really good care of that Chromebook every year so it works properly, so you don't have to go through the process of getting a loaner, so you don't have it malfunction, and that you can keep up on your schoolwork appropriately. As I said before, a Chromebook should always be in a secure location, with you, in your locker, or at home. They're always secure. Similar to how I'm sure most of you probably secure your cell phones. So as often as you check where the whereabouts of your cell phone, should be the same with Chromebook. Where is it? I need to make sure it's here, where to go. So that same level of responsibility is what we need from you with the Chromebooks. So if we find a Chromebook, like say out on the table that's out in the hallway right now, we're going to pick it up, we're going to ask our staff to pick it up, bring it to the main office, figure out whose that is, and then have a conversation about the responsibility that's required in order to have a Chromebook so that your schoolwork can be completed in the easiest fashion possible. Because yes, we could have you complete your schoolwork in another way and give you a pack of worksheets that mimics what's on the Chromebook, but that's not the idea. The idea is that we're moving forward and getting ourselves to that point of redefinition through the technology integration that we're working towards within our classrooms. All right, so what we don't want to do is alter or decorate the Chromebooks because it leads to the Chromebooks wearing faster than they should. Stickers don't come off well, or they leave residue. You maybe had done a hack and it changed the ability for you to manipulate the Chromebook, but then remember, we're collecting these every year. We have to be able to update them and keep them working well. So we want to we don't want any aftermarket parts on the Chromebook, right? We want it to be stock, so to speak. All right, so the last page of that handbook is the insurance form. So I highly recommend that you get the insurance, similar to how, again, when you buy that $1,000 iPhone, you should probably buy the insurance, because if something does happen, even something that's unintended, you're still responsible for it. So for example, I once had a student who brought their Chromebook into the bathroom, set it on the very slippery porcelain sink, and then used the bathroom. Well, while he was using the bathroom, of course, it fell on the floor and broke. It was his responsibility still, because it's his responsibility to keep it safe and keep it in a safe place and not put it in circumstances where it may break. But things like that happen, unintended, things pop up. So I do highly recommend that you look into the insurance and purchase it. It is an annual cost, but the $24 is much cheaper than the $200 that the Chromebook is. That's an estimate, of course, but still, generally, it's a good investment, the insurance itself. So the link, there is a link on the website to be able to see that. Michelle, if you want to click on that for us. So here it is. So if you go to this link, it'll bring you, there's another link there to be able to fill out the form online. And I believe the biggest benefit to filling the form out online is that you can also pay with credit card through that. You also have the form, as I said, is the very last sheet in the handbook. All right, so the insurance doesn't cover the lost or intentional damage. Intentional would be, you slam it against the locker and it breaks. Or you're irresponsible and you leave it on a table and it disappears. It would cover, of course, if it were stolen. That would take an investigation on our part to help you out, which of course we would do. If there is damage to a Chromebook, we have to look into that and again make sure that the devices are being treated appropriately. There could be, that insurance basically is just covering you for any damage that could occur, whether it be intentional or unintentional, rather than being responsible for the whole right, so again, why are we doing this? What is the main point of all this? You know, so we want to expand on the previous